right from an idea. Like they say, you got an idea creates a business model, and the business model then needs to be operationally successful even before getting monetizable. The biggest risk in life is not taking a risk. What I have noticed in practically most of the startups is that what they start with and what they finally end with and achieve commercial success is two different models.
Correct. How you evaluate startups in your fund?
So one is how far can you grow? Second is the entrepreneur's commitment and passion to the product or the startup that is running. Third, it should also create a lot of impact, because if there is no growth, there is no value that you can attach to it.
So how important this exit for a VC?
For a VC, it's very important to have an exit strategy in mind even before they start investing. So people get used to OPM, other people's money.
Yeah.
So unlike if you're a responsible venture capital, you would like to deploy your money with a clear strategy as to how are you going to return the money. Prime most for me is the integrity and intent of the startup entrepreneur.
Do you think the Indian educational policy that plays a significant role?
I think the policy today and the curriculum today is supporting all of them. It's a question of how much one wants to put an effort in. So the levels of intelligence or the level of awareness of what we had or maybe then you had, now if you look at the children, that's much higher.
In startup or unlisted equity, first of all, the investor is taking a bet. He is putting his capital, and still government is taxing a 20% long-term capital.
I think what you are saying is also got merit, because the other side of the coin is that the venture capitalist also takes risks while developing this ecosystem, invest in the markets.
Do you think AI is a threat?
Essentially, AI is good. You can even make it come as close to as a human, but you can't really make it human.
What are those important things which plays at that crucial time from 100 crore to 1000 crore?
You can't control everything. So the control mindset has to go once you have crossed your 30-40 crores, because you have to become a process driven company.
So what keeps you motivated?
I have a very big chattering mind. See, fundamentally work never stresses you out. It's people who stress you out. So the question is about us. It's not about people.
So one advice which you will give to your younger self?
Trying to relax more and enjoy life.
Which sector is going to boom for next decade?
Next 10 years I would bet on energy, efficient energy. I think it's part of climate action, but efficient energy, renewables, and I would say
So hello viewers, welcome to a new episode of our most talked startup podcast show, that is Sign Up Startup. So today I will not say I have a guest, but I have a mentor who has taught me a lot of things, starting from S of startup to V of VC. So from technical terms like carry, then waterfall model, and all those things which I have learned. Apart from that, which I have observed from him, like how to talk, how to negotiate, how to be in a control in a meeting, boardroom, all those things I have learned from him. So this will be a great opportunity for all of you to learn, and this podcast is going to be a very valuable lesson for all of you. So please welcome Mr. Shridhar Narayan, Managing Partner of Pegasus India Evolving Opportunity Fund. So sir, welcome to our podcast show.
Thank you, Ashish, and thank you for all the kind words. I'm the managing partner for Pegasus India Evolving Opportunities Fund, as he said, which is a 150 crore venture capital fund born out of my own enthusiasm to really help the startup ecosystem and really set up entrepreneurs for success and really mentor them. I mean, I think there are different needs for entrepreneurs. There are different needs. Like Ashish came to me, he's a bright chartered accountant, very good in tax, very good in process, very good in knowledge. But when he saw the other side of the world where he could contribute positively to a lot of ecosystem, like the startup ecosystem, where people struggle to not pay much price for services but really need help in understanding or navigating through the different structures and to set up their own venture, he's the man to go. At the same time, he also in that process learned about the overall venture capital ecosystem and the startups. So there are, as all of you know, startup ecosystem is something that you need to understand, because fundamentally it has a lot of challenges. Right from an idea, like they say, you got an idea creates a business model, and the business model then needs to be operationally successful even before getting monetizable. People forget that this step where they think that if it is monetizable, then I'll start looking at how to operationalize it. What I have noticed in practically most of the startups is that what they start with and what they finally end with and achieve commercial success is two different models.
Correct.
And the process is how they pivoted towards that model.
So sir, first of all, you are running is 150 crore fund and बहुत सारे स्टार्टअप्स ऐसे आपको मिलते होंगे, आप इवेलुएट करते होंगे. एक चीज़ जो मैंने देखा है कि आप बहुत क्विकली जज कर लेते हो कि what the startup can do or not do, what will work or not work. So if a founder is looking at this show now, so how you evaluate startups in your fund?
So fundamentally I see it is basically the product. Either the startup is about a product or a service. पहले बोलते थे टेक्नोलॉजी फार्मूला में कि if there is a need I'll create a product. Now there a need can be a frivolous need, can be a very compulsive need.
Right.
So I'm going away from that. I'm saying if you're creating a product or service, how much is the addressable marketplace for it? So one is how far can you grow or take the product or service up? That would be my first criteria. Second is the entrepreneur's commitment and passion to the product or the startup that is running. Because now startup is a alternate career option.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You either पहले क्या होता था? You used to be a CA or a doctor or an engineer.
Yeah.
Now, no, I want to be a startup founder because that's a tag that people like. Interestingly, I met a lot of people in Bangalore who wanted to create a fund with me of all the guys who have become founders and have managed to do some business up to say 30-40 crores but now don't know how to go ahead.
Okay.
They're stuck because either they don't have customers or they don't have geographies or they can't pivot into some other business or product.
Right.
And they are called founders because they promise their mother, father and friends that I'm a founder. So you tick the box. Second is, based on my founder of a startup, now I got good alliance, I got married, now I have to be a successful founder. Which means I have to give exit to my initial angel investors.
Yes.
So, अरे धंधा ठीक होगा तो then you will get exit.
Right.
So we started a new concept of saying all the startup founders who are stuck and don't know how to get out because they have to give exit to their early stage investors. They have to also become unicorns. I mean, that's what they think. Even if they become cash flow positive, successful startup, that's great. So you can assemble all of them and we actually diagnose those. So there is a fund which is created to only go into SaaS enterprise platforms to see how many people are stuck.
Okay.
And then buy 50% of their equity. तो उसका दूसरा बॉस भी टिक हो जाता है, अरे भाई मैंने अभी मेरा अर्ली स्टेज इन्वेस्टर को डिस्काउंट में दे दिया और ये फंड ले लेता है. देन वी हेल्प देम विद द पिवटिंग ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट और स्ट्रैटेजी और ज्योग्राफी, assuming he still meets our criteria. As I say, as a VC, if I am to do a fresh startup of the product or service, it should be to an addressable market. It should be growth. There should be growth in it. Because if there is no growth, there is no value that you can attach to it. Third, it should also create a lot of impact. So that's the way a fund would look at a startup, to answer your question very specifically.
Okay. So now, like just you mentioned that exit part. So how important this exit factor for a VC?
For a VC, it's very important to have an exit strategy in mind even before they start investing.
Okay.
Right? What is a VC? Venture capital, people put in money, it's third party capital. So I call it as OPM. Other people's money.
Other people's
but OPM is OPM, OPM hits you when you take OPM. It's a drug. So people get used to OPM, other people's money.
Yeah.
So unlike if you're a responsible venture capital, you would like to deploy your money with a clear strategy as to how are you going to return the money. Maybe the return expectations could have been 5x, but you even return 2x, that's great. But have some strategy in place. See, finally, whatever you do, it all boils down to the financial metrics as far as an investor is concerned.
Yes.
In a venture capital. All the other aspects only make it look much more better, like the governance, the compliance, the way you run the business model. So key to success for a VC Startup is to ensure that he is passionate about it and he has got a right model, business model to take it to the monetization stage. And whether he can see growth in it. And as a VC, I look for these three. And prime most for me is the integrity and intent of the startup entrepreneur. And funds are also under much more vigorous sort of diligence that they do. They are also much more responsible in terms of how they want to invest.
So, sir, what is the basic difference between Indian startup ecosystem and US startup ecosystem? We have seen like Google, WhatsApp, all the big companies are from US. Why not from India?
Well, कहीं से तो शुरुआत करना है ना, तो India started off. So I think the difference is in US. This was probably or simply put, in the 90s, US had gone through a baby boomer generation, right? That's when credit was very high, startups came, and then the bust also happened of the big bust of the dot-com boom. But then they had adopted technology and they had gone out of that cycle and they had optionalities out there. So if you look at the current Indian demographics, one is your startup ecosystem in India is supported by a positive demographic profile that you have. Average age of an Indian would be 25, which would be around 60-70% of the population by the year 2025-26. You see, people like me who are above the age of 50 will be there, but the younger generation proportion would be higher. Like what was the problem with Japan earlier? They are actually importing people from outside and they choose Indians to come. Enormous opportunities because they want young Indians or other people to come. There is also a disproportionate ratio between men and women. So they want you to settle down there, have children in Japan so that their productivity, their younger population would grow. Right. So but India is in a very sweet spot. You've got a very standard stabilized government policies, you've got an establishment established, your average age of youngsters are going up, startups are going to, ecosystem has already matured and boomed, and you are like what it was in the 90s and 2000s in the US. So now you will see a sharp growth, but that's the difference. But other thing is, India still has to work, India still is working on a lot of SaaS models, product models. In tech, India is still in application tech broadly if I look at it. If you look at original innovation and tech, deep tech as they call it, still in US and Europe would be a little more ahead of India. So while we are at it, and it's not that it's not an Indian must be behind it, but he's sitting out of US and doing it. So you see, originality is also coming in India, but India has always been lagging behind because of its cut and paste model.
Do you think
वहाँ चल गया तो यहाँ भी चलना चाहिए?
Do you think the Indian educational policy and the education like infrastructure whatever we have that plays a significant role?
The biggest risk in life is not taking a risk. I think I have told this to a lot of youngsters, a lot of older people too. And my whole idea about it is because if you don't take risk, because you don't know of all the things that you know, you also don't know of all the things you don't know. But we think we know. Right? So unless you take that risk, a business is not created. If a business is not created, you're not employing people. If I don't employ people, how do I give jobs to a chartered accountant, an engineer, etc.? Right? So it's a complete economic cycle. But more importantly, coming back to your education and policy, etc. in the Indian context, lots of things have changed. I think the mindsets of people have changed. A digital transformation, especially in the last 5 years or 7 years that I've seen, has pushed people towards adopting, latest. Even the maid servant who comes to my house, her children are studying up to graduation. I have gotten them jobs. They are no more wanting to be a maid again like their mom. And the moms also don't want their children to be a maid. So that's a big transformation. See, the socio-economic inequalities or disparities are getting this. But in India, there is still much more scope that we can do because we still have a rural economy and a urban economy. It doesn't mean that in rural economy you can't be rich, etc. So I think the NEET, the IITs, the much more mushrooming of other technical institutes have made people go. So education is a must. So after having education, you may choose to be an entrepreneur or take risk, or you may choose to go and do a job. That choice is left to people. And I think the younger generation is also much more about stability, balance of life. What I find little bit worried is the work culture of these young people. If they can bring mix passion with hard work, and also not that they should not have balance in life, but if they mix all these two and want to create something and pursue and have an outcome based approach, they'll succeed. And I think the policy today and the curriculum today is supporting all of them. It's a question of how much one wants to put in effort, and it is left to the individual.
So sir, I have observed this one thing which may be very बहुत बेवकूफ़ी वाला होगा, but in our education system, in computer, taken a subject computer, in exam we have to ask that write how you will go to this file or how you will open a file, where you have to write like a kid is writing, go to this tab and then click there, where it is a practical based study, right? So if he know practical, then there is no such need of writing the answer. So these kind of reform, do you think that it should be there?
That is, I don't know at what stage they ask this question. I'm assuming these kind of questions must be in the class 8 or class 10.
Yes.
Yes. So, see, it depends on what kind of curriculum and what kind of levels you're educating. So, maybe they can push this down to a class 5 now. Because class 5 means you are approximately around 11, 12 years, 10 years old. So, at 10 years, if you are able to explain verbally or demonstrate it physically, because nowadays even a 10-year-old operates a iPad or a phone. So obviously they understand. See, it is about how you want to learn. You want to learn by rote, or you want to learn by writing, or you want to learn by reading. So the levels of intelligence or the level of awareness of what we had, or maybe then you had, now if you look at the children, that's much, much higher.
Yes.
Their IQ levels, their ability to absorb. So from that point of view, I'm sure standards of education are becoming much more open. Like the US, they have an open culture.
Yes.
If you really do much well, they actually promote you to one class ahead of you, of your age. So in India, I think that has to catch up. We still follow a traditional mindset. We want discipline. So there has to be a mix of both discipline, which inculcates good culture, but for an imaginative mind, you should also have an ability to explore ways of really moving up fast. So people can change. And I'm assuming people are changing.
Sir, now coming to government policies which you have mentioned, are you satisfied with the policies and reforms which government is doing for startups?
Yeah, government has come out with a lot of central policies, except for the taxation, in which they have got some ambiguity and which they are clearing. I think they should incentivize startups to get funded and not tax both the recipient as well as the person who is paying money, because I think that is putting some kind of a sort of a hold on the investors. And the startups are also, startups are busy with finding a product and implementing it. They really don't understand whether this is a premium, is classified as an income or whatever.
Yeah.
I think government should be able to, or the tax can come with some clear guidelines on that. That's number one. But otherwise, there is a lot of startup innovation policy, accelerator programs of the central government and as well as the state government, which helps the startups to empower themselves and move ahead. Like we are engaged with the state of Bihar, and now we are also working with the state of Orissa. I am now going to be participating with the state of Tamil Nadu, where they want the state government has created an accelerator program, and we are encouraging people to participate in that, right from an idea or seed level, to be able to move ahead and go ahead. So I think it's conducive, but all said and done, it's also about the way you have grown up in your family. If you come from a very middle class family who's working in a government service, they don't encourage their children to take risks. But now I'm assuming the children go outside and get exposed, and they come back from the school or college and they come back with ideas. So I wouldn't be surprised if the son of an auto rickshaw driver creates a unicorn. Or I won't be surprised if the son of a government circuit creates a great product or a service. So because I think the external influence and the amount of content that digital media provides for learning is abundantly available. And more so now with AI coming, LLMs, large language models coming in, there is huge amount of conversion of, the text into different language models. So, initially in startups, a lot of people used to not invest in startup because you were not able to speak English well. But वो जयपुर का बंदा आएगा, उसके पास अच्छा idea होगा, NBFC होगा, but he was not able to speak well.
Right.
But then communication should not be a bar for people to invest. So I used to think, why somebody from a Jaipur, उसका idea तो अच्छा है, ठीक है, तभी तो electronic and your web was all based out of English. Now you got multiple languages in the last 5 years, right? You can write your programs because you have to just use a digital text converter.
Yes.
Assuming that everything else is done by the algorithm subsequently. So I think that mindset has gone. So now we are clearly focused as a venture capitalist to know, is the guy good? Is he working hard enough? He has a great idea. He's got a great product or a service. Is the market available for him? Will he grow? Once he does that, and the VC is satisfied that he's got good integrity and he's a hard worker, go ahead and invest. That's how I do my job.
So sir, you are talking about taxation system. That is what something I also believe, that in equity and listed shares, we pay 10% tax long-term capital gain.
But on public equities.
Public equity. But in startup or unlisted equity, first of all, the investor is taking a bet. He is putting his capital, and still government is taxing a 20% long-term capital, which is, I think, somewhere unfair, and it is not promoting capital infusion in the economy. So do you, are you of the same opinion that it should at least reduce the 10% to match, or you have some other opinion on this taxation
essentially
structure?
The government or the tax policy makers have distinguished between listed equity and unlisted equities. Your question is saying that why should it not be the same?
As per my opinion, it should be less than that, because the VCs or investors are taking a risk. They are putting their money and putting the money in Indian company only. Like it will grow the company.
Correct.
It will grow the economy.
You're right, but I think the venture capital, the trust vehicle that you are allowed to set up is a pass-through vehicle. So obviously they are giving the venture capitalist and the people who come in not to be double taxed. And they are saying that you will be taxed in your hands based on the slab that you fall in. I think the primary premise would be that people who invest through venture capital have money and they are in the socio-economic category A. So why would they want to tax them at a lower rate? I mean, that's one of the thoughts that the policymakers may have. But ideally, also the other aspect driving the higher taxation is you actually make much higher returns as compared to a public listed markets. That's the second thought. Why does someone put money in VC? By the very name venture, it's risk.
Yes.
A risk capital is disproportionate to the return that you earn. It's a zero game, or you will make 5x.
Right.
So if you make 5x, then you might as well pay tax. So that's the intent of the policy maker. Whereas I think what you are saying is also got merit, because the other side of the coin is that the venture capitalist also takes risks while developing this ecosystem, invest in the markets, invest in infrastructure, invest in people. So he should be given the ability of paying the same, if not less.
Yes.
So I think valid point. I think its only thing is that they should introduce fair valuation rules, etc., to find out how much money you made. Suppose a seller of the unlisted shares is also a seller is also selling an unlisted share, and buyer is also buying an unlisted share, then how will you determine a value? How will you determine there is a gain or a loss? So that would be the challenge. So in that case, I think they have some fair valuation rules. If they can make it that much more automated or some benchmark, then probably they can lower the tax rates to like the public listed equities. Okay. Anyway, we have to wait for this budget, which is coming up in this after this new government has come up, to see what they want to do. But yes, point taken, they are not considered the risk of investments of a venture capitalist.
And second point also is of the ESOPs.
Or, and I'm just thinking as you're speaking, they should at least give the venture capital LPs and investors some break in their overall income, or a tax break, that if you have contributed your money towards a venture capital fund or you're a venture capital investor, you get a 2% rebate in your tax or something like that. So at least they encourage capital to flow to all these sectors like clean technology and
Yes.
I think that could be that's a suggestion, but I don't know how the government will take it. Because right now they are all very much focused on collecting more and more out of GST revenues and tax collections.
One more aspect also related to taxation is ESOPs. Normally startup कब ESOP issue करता है जब उनके पास पैसा नहीं है, but they want some higher people, high qualified person to be in their team, so they offer sweat equity and ESOPs. But when you see the taxation, it is straightly 30% tax rate. So my only point is that there should be some kind of benefit to the person or the ecosystem who are working in the startup.
See, that would require, I mean, ESOPs is a certain metrics. If you give ESOPs through the company or the fund manager for in a startup ecosystem, then the guy who receives ESOP has to pay tax because of the gains that he would make on the ESOP.
Even if he has not received the money.
That's something which I went through when I was running Future Capital and I got listed. I didn't sell my shares or didn't make actual capital gain, but because the ESOPs were granted and got vested, and automatically got taxed at a price. So this notional taxation thing, they can actually link it to more cash flow driven. That amendment, I think, that can be a good thing, because they all have to create, otherwise accruals in the balance sheets for ESOPs given, and that's a huge cost on the P&L.
Right.
It's a notional cost. It's not a cash flow.
Right.
So I think then that would require an adjustment between the accounting standards and the taxation to work out something like that. But yeah, people can think about how to ease that, because you are saying then you might as well not issue ESOPs. You might as well give them equity and say charge that equity is a balance sheet item. So why do we want to bring it to P&L and all? And let them, whenever they encash the equity, they should be taxed at a capital gain with long-term capital gain with indexation, etc. That can be done for unlisted equities also in a straightforward manner. It can ease the ESOP or this, because people now create trust in startups, because you're right, because a lot of people are not able to give them big salaries, so they give them small salaries and give them ESOPs, but that comes back to bite them because it comes as a huge cost.
Yeah. So sir, coming back to my next question, do you think AI is a threat to humankind?
AI is a great thing to have, because you actually, who creates AI? It's a human brain.
Yes.
Now you train a machine and you keep learning, and then you feed it more data to be able to predict what is AI? It's about the ability to computing speed. You and me can compute or memorize. Like I have this great example. I can't do it. My wife memorizes up to 1,000 digits of pi. We can at best say 3.127 etc. and we stop somewhere, right? Now the ability of a computer, it can do up to 1 lakh digit, 5 lakh digits. And then when you put more data, and if the product, event or anything there is a recurrence, out of 100 times this occurs only 5 times. That's why AI really gets a fixation on the probability of life. In terms of life, I mean any product, service. What is the chance of you having an heart attack? Immediately an AI will go out, run across all, in a 40-year-old across the country. India's population is 1.4 billion, data is available, blah blah blah, statistics on men and women will be available. So the computational speed is what you do. Like the GPUs, the data center, the computing speed, right? So essentially AI is good. You can even make it come as close to as a human, but you can't really make it human. But AI also gives a risk to, like the latest video developed by the video software developed, or the prompt engineering is excellent. Chatbox, people do now use chatbox and prompt engineering for even drafting their appeals.
Yes.
Otherwise, AI, the problem is of deep fakes.
Yes.
There are 10-15 PowerPoints available on some subject. So if you tell now you're lazy, you don't want to put your head, like Google now was there, you could search. Now you can say, please prepare a PowerPoint presentation on startups. A lot of material available in the web.
Yes.
It will scrap the text out of the web, intelligently put something together and give it to you. Now is that an original thing? Or is that has any fallacy? It may be true generically, but can it address any specific thing? No. So AI can be used. AI is very progressive. It's extremely useful. It's going to add more GDP and value. People also ask me, will AI replace people? Will jobs go off? I think no. People will get retrained and reskilled. People will learn AI and try to they'll also tell AI, please find a job for me. Then AI will ask what kind of skill set you have. Then you will say, I got so and so skill set.
Yeah.
But then it will try to figure out. So I think there are core things in a country. You need a home to stay. You need food to eat. You need hospitals to treat you. You need a human mind to write the algorithms on healthcare or anything, even if you were to apply AI. So you will always need people.
So, which sector is going to boom for next decade? As a
Next 10 years, I would bet on energy, efficient energy. I think it's part of climate action, but efficient energy, renewables, and I would say evergreen would be your healthcare and I think AI, fintech. I mean, major solutions in service industries to AI. I think that would be very impactful, and I think a lot of manufacturing activities will find their place in the Indian context because your GDP primarily constitutes much larger content of services. But now I see a movement towards making products, innovative products, useful products. So manufacturing is it's a sector by itself.
yes,
Like we were mostly an agrarian economy, agriculture, but a lot of farmers have sold agriculture, and you are putting up industrial development, etc. So I think these things will have a much more impactful thing. So there will be many changes. So you'll have to. So these sectors which will fall into this bucket will be the one then for the next decade, as I see.
and there are many startups who can easily take their business to 10 cr or 50 cr or 100 cr level, but from there to 1000 crore or 10,000 crore, it's a separate ball game. So what are those important things which plays at that crucial time from 100 crore to 1000 crore or 10,000 crore?
See, in India is always driven by a controlled mindset. So going from 0 to 10 is easy. And I gave you an example earlier about a lot of startups getting stuck at 10 and 20.
Yes.
Because after that you don't know which market to go, or you're not, or the market doesn't need that product beyond that specific space, or you don't know how to sell your product to a different market, or maybe you have to make some more changes in the product for the market to excel. Because everything is now it's changing so fast. What you need yesterday you don't need today.
Today, correct.
So, and on top of it, you put the Indian cultural mindset. Up to 0 to 100, you can control all variables in a business. If I am the promoter, I am the सेठ of a company, तो मैं सोचता हूँ कि मैं ही सब कुछ मैनेज कर लूँगा. मैं ही मैनेजर हूँ, मैं ही अकाउंटेंट हूँ, मैं ही सेल्समैन भी हूँ. चलो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के लिए मैंने दर्जी का दुकान है तो 4 दर्जी लगा दिया. या if I am having a lathe machine manufacturing, I hire 5 workers. I go and try to get orders, I do. But once you scale, it's not easy because scale comes with more customers. Scale comes with more lending, more money required. More money means more borrowing. More borrowing means you also talk to lenders. You talk to public money if you raise public money. You'll have to talk to family and friends when you're taking equity. You'll have to start accounting for it. So everything has to be brought under a public accounting system, which means you can't control everything. So the control mindset has to go once you have crossed your 30-40 crores, because you have to become a process driven company.
Yes.
And that a lot of people miss, and that's one of the reasons for their failure.
So, sir, you're just giving an example of Byju's. So, we have seen many unicorns fails. Whereas behind the unicorns, there are a lot of investors, lot of VCs. They have very advanced legal advisors. Everyone is there. But what happened that such big unicorns are failing then, when so many intelligent minds are there?
I won't say all unicorns are failing. Some of them, yes, because you see, fundamentally, till you take it to a public marketplace. For example, do you know Amazon is the largest valued company in terms of market cap? I'm in the top 3, top 4. Or top 5. But it took 19 years for it to hit the first quarter of profitability. But that's the vision of the founder, Jeff Bezos, saying that scale, I'll meet. But if you give to a person like, my family office, they'll say, 15 साल में 6 महीने में return नहीं बनाता है. Why should I invest? But to grow business, you need a vision. Sometimes the stretch of capital is shorter, sometimes the stretch of capital is longer. It depends on the liquidity basket that you are in. So I think that's one point on unicorns failing or not failing. And then you need to stay the course, and you need people to fund you, and you need to stay the course.
Yeah.
Assuming there will be light at the end of the tunnel. That's one model. Like SoftBank has got negative returns or plus minus 1, 2%. They deploy the largest capital. Whereas funds have a shorter time frame and they need to make money So they'll deploy capital based on their needs. But on unicorns failing, I think it's all about some of them, some examples that are in the public domain. I think it's not about the product, or because the product could work up to that level, the product and the service could have worked more. It is just that you had to shift gears and get into a stabilization mode. Yeah. You had to make your product or service better. You had to make the product more profitable. There's no point of overselling your value. See, finally the value is determined by the dividend that you pay or the capital appreciation that you get. A capital appreciation is a multiple of P. P is profits, P multiple, no earnings multiple.
Yeah.
It's equally applicable to even unlisted equities. It is that we have created that, वो बोलते हैं ना, शोर मचा दिया है कि नहीं मेरा valuation 10 times, 20 times, because I am in the private unlisted market. Like tax is unreasonable, you are saying, but this is also unreasonable. No? Public markets, you have all informations to determine what the value should be.
Okay, so that was a great insight, sir. So my next question is, investors' intervention in management of the startups. Do you think it is necessary, it is good, or it is bad?
It depends on the stage in which the startup is and the mindset of the venture capital fund or the private equity fund. A lot of funds come with an operating mindset so that they are able to help the investee companies in their operations. But that doesn't mean that you take over the business of the investee company. You only help them in strategy, in pivoting their business model, etc. I don't think so any fund interferes in the business of the startups beyond a point, unless the startups are rogue startups. So if the rogue startups, after they get money, they don't know what to do, or if they are not ready to accept certain deviations, then the investors become more involved. I think involved investors is a better strategy rather than being an uninvolved spray and pray approach. That would be my view. And I am an operating investor. People come to me for advice, for customer acquisition, for strategy, or for pivoting. I just give it to them, but that's fine. Sometimes even after all of that, after we've invested, we find some of the startups, especially you find this with technology startups, etc. They have the mind of their own. Maybe they don't have a good understanding of the commercial world, commercialization. So I think it's a combination of philosophy and strategy while deciding that you want to be a investing investor or an operating investor. And same way, the challenge also lies with the relevant startups, whether they want to take the advice and improve, or not take the advice and still become successful or not be successful. So I think that it has to be having an open mind. But interference is the wrong word. Startups anyway run on their own.
So what keeps you motivated all the time? Like whenever I see you are always fully energized. So I just want to know your secret.
I don't know the answer, but I know definitely that I have a very big chattering mind, and I think any kind of work problem or trying to get a solution to a problem, or trying to communicate to people and to help people or mentor people, I think it keeps happening with me all the time, and I think I'm happy about it. See, fundamentally work never stresses you out. It's people who stress you out. Yeah. So if you have people who have got a very clear view of life, then you're happy interacting with them. I used to get stressed out maybe in 2012. Work also is sometimes very stressful, but work is work. But then behind that work there are people. If I'm buying something from somebody, if I buy a land, there is somebody, a farmer sitting there. Yeah. If he reneges on his contract, it stresses me out. Which means the person stresses me out, not the work. If I'm expecting my employees to deliver to me or my managers to deliver to me, and if they say 5 बज गया अब ये काम कल करूँगा and there is a loss, that stresses you out because the person are not delivering. So if you keep improving the cultural mandate, that's helpful. Now, my dream is not job. Right now I don't have any job as such. What I think is, whatever I do, if it is going to be productive, either to a person or to a product or to a company or to my investors or to my LPs, any stakeholder around me, both personal and professional, or to my family or to my mother or to my wife, why not do it? But in the process, if I feel that I'm unhappy, then I should not do it. So there could be few things that I'm not unhappy. If I'm lazy, I don't like to do daily get up and make my coffee. Even today my wife says few things, but she still gets me a tea or coffee in the morning. But if she's not there, then I get up and make it for even everybody else or something until my maid comes. But So these are all things that affect you, but these don't make you unhappy or happy. So the question is about us. It's not about people. Because people also are the investors, people are also CEOs of the Swiggy's and Zomatos and Byju's. People are also the employees who work for them. So I think it's about a cultural mindset, and that's one of the things, also to answer the earlier question which keeps me ticking, is as much as I can give to people, it's about, as वो बोलते हैं ना हिंदी में, सबसे बड़ा दान क्या होता है? Knowledge is power. And most of the people, what I've seen, do not want to share because they are insecure.
So one last question of today's podcast. So one advice which you will give to your younger self.
To my younger self, try to relax more and enjoy life. No, seriously, I'd like my younger self to probably, after seeing all of you, I think I would say I should have probably done a lot of things which could have been fun for me, but I spent time. Not that working was not a fun, I enjoyed my work everywhere that I did because I created milestones for myself and for the organization that I worked. By God's grace, I was successful in most of my endeavors. But if I was given a chance, I would take it easy. Today, maybe I would have played more golf, or learned more games, tried to enjoy more, but no regrets. I mean, I would not have anything, but I still like my younger self to be much more hardworking than intelligent.
So that was a nice session with you, sir. We have got many more insights about startup ecosystem, then government initiatives, then also we have touched the US startup ecosystem. So thank you for being a part of this podcast. So that's it for today, viewers. We will come with a new episode with one more new guest, and till then stay tuned to our channel. Thank you.